Hi, I'm Dan McHale, and welcome to our next episode of Minutes with McHale. I am pleased to have Michael Paulus on the show today. Michael is the Senior Associate Athletic Director at Syracuse University and going to tell us about his journey, his career, and a lot of stuff going on in the NCAA marketplace today. So, Michael, thanks for being on the show.
Absolutely, Dan. Thanks for having me.
Great. Well, I know it's an exciting time of year. We've got basketball in full swing and spring sports starting. Just, kind of tell me about your role at Syracuse right now and kind of your main responsibilities and some of the teams you oversee. And I know you're heavily involved with the Cuse Athletics Fund. Just kind of tell me about it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, to start at a high level, so I oversee all of our Cuse Athletics Fund. So our Cuse Athletics Fund is our development and our alumni relations team here for athletics. So I'm responsible for all areas of fundraising and engagement for Syracuse University athletics, and that includes a wide range of areas, right? So it includes annual giving and major gifts, capital campaign projects. We're currently in a campaign right now for new facilities, includes premium seating and suite opportunities that we sell, to our fans in the Dome, and then also donor relations and then day-to-day things with our staff. So, we work very closely with university advancement here and our vice presidents and our leadership. As you can imagine, every school and unit, everyone's always in the campaign. They're always fundraising for something. In athletics, we're no different. So we're a part of the university. So we've got to partner with everybody. So we collaborate really well with them to coordinate our plan and our approach for athletics fundraising. And then we've got a great team. We've got a really good team. We've got a good unit. We're charged with raising a lot of money and providing resources for our teams, our coaches, and our sports. So we've got a really meaningful challenge ahead of us.
Well, that's great. It's kind of an arms race, right? You got to. Everyone's always just looking for bigger and better, and it's awesome. Being a college coach for many years, I've had a chance to be at a lot of different campuses, and going to Syracuse was always a lot of fun. It was a tough place to play in the Carrier Dome, but great university, and it sounds like you guys are thriving. Just kind of tell me about your journey. I know you've been fortunate enough to rise the ladder and work at some great universities. Just kind of tell me how you got your start and kind of your stops along the way.
Yeah. I think for me, being a former student athlete in college myself, so I played football, and a lot of my experiences were through football in college, right? And for me, going through the recruiting process was my first experience in really looking at athletics and coaching and administration. So, my interest in working in college athletics probably started when I was in high school and developing relationships with coaches at different places and understanding, what they did from a recruiting standpoint in football. And, as a quarterback, I developed relationships with the people who recruited me, right? Quarterback coaches or offensive coordinators. And I really liked what they did. They were traveling, they were recruiting, they were coaching. You're in athletics. It's a very nice, it's a great culture. It's fun. It's fast paced. You're competing. So, I got close with a lot of guys that recruited me, the major Applewhites of the world. I remember Scott Loeffler at Michigan, Kiffin and Sarkisian were at SC at that time. And, going through it was kind of like, hey, I want to go play football, but I want to do what they want to do, when I'm done. And then I think candidly going through the process of playing football in college and seeing the turnover in coaching, and also that was just one small area of an athletics department is coaching in football. So, my eyes were open more so to the administrative side of things, and I really took an interest in that. So I gradually began to transition there. I got my start in administration as a graduate assistant at Virginia Commonwealth University in Richmond. I took on a graduate assistantship in a sports management program there, learned about development, worked in the RAM Athletic Fund, really got exposure to premium seating, tickets, donor relations, events, running the bus trips and things like that with donors and fans. And I really enjoyed it. I did. And then I learned more about what an athletics director does and how they lead the department. You're running your entire enterprise, really, all the different facets of compliance and marketing and legal and development. So it's obviously very complex. So I enjoyed it. I really did. And from there, I had an opportunity to go to Mount St. Mary's University, small private institution in Maryland. Had a really good chance to learn more about fundraising through the university advancement and reporting into a vice president, being at a smaller private school versus VCU, which was a large public school, right? both those institutions, as you know, are basketball schools, right?
Yes.
They didn't have football. So your eggs are all in your basketball basket. And to be in that environment was a really good experience for me. And I liked working at smaller schools, and you get your hands dirty, you wear a lot of hats.
Yep.
But I knew at some point in my career, I wanted to experience the Power 5 level. I wanted to get to the highest level, at least to see how it operated, right? I wanted to understand all the different facets of revenue generation and fundraising. And there was an opportunity along the way when I was at Mount St. Mary's, when she's now a great friend of mine, Monica LeBron, was at Ole Miss,
Right.
reached out about an opportunity there. And to go to Ole Miss from Mount St. Mary's to get that experience in the SEC
Right.
with fundraising, a capital campaign, just an incredible experience for me. And I'm so fortunate to have worked with the folks that were there. And at that time, Ross Bjork was the athletics director.
Right.
Stephen Ponder was there, who is now the head of development at Florida State. And then Keith Carter was, he oversaw our foundation, and he's now the athletics director. So for me to be at those smaller schools, transition to a larger institution, a larger school in the SEC, and have those influences to learn was just really good for me in my career, and continue to have great mentors and colleagues. So very fortunate for that step. And then went to the Naval Academy from there, and continue to learn and development. Obviously, it's a service academy, an incredible mission there. And then with that, I was able to add sport administration to my experience, to work with coaches and go through scheduling and work with different sports, and really get an understanding of what it was like to work with coaches, and not just the donors piece of it. So again, another great experience for me. And then most recently, about 19, 20 months ago, coming to Syracuse, and to be able to get into the ACC at a place that was meaningful to me, great academics, great alignment with the university and athletics, and to be a leader here and to work closely with our athletics directors and vice presidents was just, again, a blessing and an incredible opportunity to keep growing.
No, that's terrific. Heck of a journey. I've been fortunate to, rise the coaching ranks a lot the same way. And it's all about the people you meet along the way. It's all about the mentors. It's all about your relationships that carry you forward. And that's truly a great place. The Naval Academy is tremendous. I grew up going to games there all the time. My father played basketball at the Naval Academy. It's just a great environment and a great service academy. So now being able to work in the SEC, to the Patriot League, to small Catholic schools. I mean, you've really touched on a lot of different areas, which is why you're so well rounded today. Kind of leads me to my next question. What advice would you give to a college graduate that wants to break into college administration? Looking back at your journey, is there anything that really stands out?
Yeah, that's a great question. And for me, it was different than it will be for anybody else, right? If you ask 10 people, you'll get 10 different answers, kind of how they found their path into, college athletics or to whatever field they're in, right? And I think for me, I wanted to explore different areas to find out what I liked. And I was fortunate really right off the bat that I tried development first, and that's where my passion was. And there was just so much alignment with what I wanted to do and development. But for other people or new graduates or people in sports management programs, that could be compliance for them, or it could be marketing, or it could be, working in legal or other areas within athletics. So I think for anybody new getting into it, especially the first couple of years, I would say to take your time early to really develop and figure out which area you want to be in. And the sooner you can do that, and it takes different times for different people, and that's okay. But the sooner you can figure out, hey, I really want to be in this area, you can kind of chart your path for growth, right? Of building your experience in those areas, making yourself well-rounded and setting goals and working towards those. So I think it really depends on the person to develop that and find their passion in that area. And then you got to define your goals, and work towards those. Do you want to be a head of a department? Do you want to be a deputy AD? Do you want to be an athletics director? What level do you want to be at? And as you know, you got small major, mid major, high level, group of 5, power 5. There's a lot of different levels out there where people can work. And I think the sooner you can determine, hey, I'd really like to work at this level, or I want to make an impact here, I think those are really key steps along people's journey.
No, you're right. It's terrific, and for young college graduates looking to get into it, you really don't have to know what you want to do at age 21, right? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
goals change along the way. It's just being a sponge, right? Absorbing as many positive influences that you can have in your life, and your journey's been that. Kind of takes me to my next question. Student athletes all over the place. It's different, right? The Naval Academy student athlete life was different than a Syracuse student athlete life. What advice would you give, and what do you think the biggest challenges actually are to student athletes these days?
Yeah, it's a challenge right now, right? When you look at the challenges that student athletes face versus the challenges that administrators face, right? We're in a space right now with NIL, and student athletes can make money off their name, image, and the likeness, right? And then you've got the administrative side of it as well, where you're looking for guidance on how do you best support that. So each institution is different, as you just alluded to with the Naval Academy, right? NIL is different at the Naval Academy than it is at any other Power 5 or Group of 5 institution. So being a service academy versus some of these other spaces. So I think the challenges they're ongoing, right? I think nothing's going to change here soon. NIL is in this space, and we've got to find ways to adapt to best support our student athletes. I think it's important for us to be dynamic with it and adaptable, and be ready to change on a dime, whether that's advice given from the NCAA or your institution with how you're gonna manage it, right? There's a lot of folks that are more aggressive on the NIL front, and there's some schools that aren't, and are sitting back and waiting a little bit more to get more guidance on how do we want to set it up so we're sustainable? How do we want to set it up so we remain flexible? And how do we do it so it's the right way, both as an athletics department and as an institution? So, it's ongoing. It's going to be in this space for the next several years, if not longer. And I think just as administrators, especially in development, we've got to be ready to adapt, right? Because it's the donors that you're getting a lot of questions from. Right. And from our standpoint, I want us and our teams to do the best job possible to educate donors on the options to support our student athletes. And we want to do that the right way.
No, yeah, you're 100% right, and that's where, look, it's great. I think NIL used correctly is fantastic for the student athletes, but it creates a challenge, right? For you having to fundraise with boosters, you hit the nail on the head. They want to know exactly where it's going, and the more we can educate, the better. And who knows where it's going? It just keeps evolving. It's a fun time. It really is. And, I don't want to take up too much more of your time. Any last thoughts, kind of what's going on in college athletics today? What do you think kind of the biggest challenges right now? TV deals, NIL, realignment, just kind of one last thought on where we're going.
Yeah, it's an interesting question right now, right? And I'm like a lot of people, I'm reading as much as I can and educating myself as much as we can on the NIL space and what's going on there, and what are we allowed to do? What do we want to do? How is setting this up sustainable, and how are you doing right by your student athletes? So I think it's just constantly changing. It's constantly evolving. We're going to hear that a lot. I think the biggest thing we can do as administrators or leaders, depending on what type of institution you're at, big school, small school, mid-major, it really doesn't matter. I think you need to embrace it. I think you need to find a way to embrace it and manage it in alignment with your athletics department and your institution. And that looks different at different places. But at the end of the day, everyone needs to get in the room and find a way to support our student athletes the best way possible. And if NIL is a part of that, then we need to figure out the best way to do that that's in alignment, so that we're following all the guidelines and we're doing things the right way. Right. And then certainly the ongoing challenges of just resources, right? We're always going to need more money to better support our student athletes, whether that's through positions, coaching staffs, nutrition, facilities. For us is a major one right now, where we're going through a pretty big campaign to upgrade and modernize our facilities to be more functional for all of our sports, not just basketball and football. Right. They're definitely core pieces of this campaign for them, but definitely for our Olympic sports too, from locker rooms and performance centers to physically develop, medical centers for recovery, nutrition, and then an academic center. So at Syracuse, we're finding that balance of, hey, we've got to fundraise and make an impact through facilities, but we also need to figure out how do we want to move forward with this NIL, because like I said, that's another item on the menu for our donors to choose from.
Exactly.
And we need to educate them the right way if that's an area where they want to support.
No, you're 100% right. You really are. But, this has been a lot of fun, and it's an exciting time of year for us in college athletics. And I really appreciate you coming on the show, Michael.
Absolutely. I appreciate it, Dan. Thanks for having me. I look forward to talking to you here soon.
Well, good. Well, it's very, very clear. You've had a great career, and I really appreciate you doing that, and the best is yet to come. So he is Michael Paulus from the Syracuse University Athletic Department, and I am Dan McHale with SRI Collegiate Search. We'll see you next time.